Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about a very popular piece of surplus equipment known as the TAP. The TAP, or the Tactical Assault Panel, is a 8-celled MOLLE panel that you can pick up at many surplus stores online as well as eBay. Comes in multicam UCP and Coyote Brown. As I'm sure you've seen loadout videos before on the TAP panel, what it's capable of and what it's not capable of. That's what I want to tailor this video towards today. Talk about a few of the reasons that I chose to buy a TAP for myself, what I have it set up for, and what I've experienced in the past with the things that it is capable of and isn't capable of. I've been excited to put out this video for a while, and coincidentally enough, just about a week ago, T-Rex Arms launched the Trap panel, which is a modified or updated version of a TAP panel. It seems to be a very cool piece of equipment, and I think I'll talk about some of the features that I've seen that I really like in comparison with the TAP panel, and I'll explain some of the shortcomings that this piece of equipment, the TAP panel on its own, has had in my mind, where I believe something like the Trap panel comes in play and becomes very useful. And lastly, I want to cover cost effectiveness, about how much I paid to set up this, and then maybe some mistakes that I made along the way. Me building out my TAP panel started with me selling off some other equipment and trying to figure out a more cost-effective way to make a load-bearing piece of equipment that was actually capable of holding a lot of weird items. I had a couple in mind that I wanted to hold, like binoculars, for example, being able to scale up with a lot of like extra weird items. And the TAP panel seemed to be like a very capable system, could hold a lot of mags. And my favorite thing about it, the thing that turned me onto the TAP panel to begin with, was its ability to hold comfortably, now that I know this, 6 AR mags, and then being flat up against your body. So as you can see, all of the cells are flat up against your body. I like the idea of being able to work across your mags across the body instead of having double stack mag pouches. There's pros and cons to each. Figuring out what you prefer is going to be the only way to tell what you should go after, although neither system's bad. So the first thing that I'll say is that holding 8 mags is a little bit too much. Holding 6 out in the front is what I've seen to be like absolutely optimal. But I will go ahead and get into some of the shortcomings that I've had with these mag cells. Is first of all, when this thing's actually buckled together and on your body, as you'll see, it has quite a lot of curvature to it. It's going to wrap around your body. And as you start working across with mags, the front 4 are pretty great. Not too many problems. Reaching over here can be a little complicated. These mags really smush against each other, and these side pockets really start to suffer and degrade, and they start to shrink. And for this reason, I think that probably getting like Kydex mag inserts would be really useful for the TAP panel to expand and keep those inside of here. I've tested it out with the Haley Strategic Kydex inserts, which were my favorites for a while. I didn't use them too long just because they weren't really molded to fit the mags, and I felt like with all the pressure, it really squeezed the mags and kind of made it harder to draw the mags out. But I think that was due to my lack of time spent actually trying to like mold the Kydex to the mags and then let it work itself out. I went ahead and just ditched them for that reason. I was using them. They were my brothers, just for a short time. I'll go ahead and talk about the retention system on the TAP panel. This is the one that comes stock whenever you get it without any modification. You have these Velcro pull tabs, which I'll have to say, I personally do not mind them at all. I actually find them quite nice. I went ahead and bought the Spiritus Systems TAPS upgrade kit, which has a bunch of nylon products and parts that you can take to upgrade some of the features on this. The biggest one being, it gives you bungee retention tabs that go across the front 4 mag cells, and then these like slightly different modified ones that go on the back 2, and these ones being more optimized for holding like big military radios. And I'll be honest, if you look at this panel, the way that I have it configured, you'll see that I actually didn't use that much stuff in the upgrade kit besides the H harness. That being one of the biggest things if you're going to go out and get a tap is probably the most expensive thing you'll have to put on this is a new H harness. I'm not exactly sure how much surplus ones are. I'll throw that in the description along with the priced out Spiritus Systems taps upgrade kit. And I also don't even use their backstrap. I have a T-Rex arms one that I prefer to use anyways. Along with that, in my video, the FLC, you'll see I do have the Molly dangler pouch. However, I substitute it for a USMC dangler so that it can hold more odd and weird items. But personally, I'm not a fan of the bungee tab retainers. Like I try to avoid it at all costs. I like Velcro, whether it's on these pull tabs. I actually really do prefer these. Or like double stack mag pouches with flaps. But I want to show a couple different ways to configure the tap and the mag pouches specifically and what they're capable of, because that was something that I was very curious about whenever I was trying to buy one for the first time that no one really was giving me answers on. So first of all, this is kind of about how much it retains your 5.56 mags. Like I said, I'm holding 6 right now. And one of the questions that I had whenever I was getting this was, will it hold 7.62 by 39? Because I have an AK, and I like to be able to run 7.62 by 39 if I can, and just about all my equipment, which is another reason I do prefer double stack flapped mag pouches, because they almost all work with AK mags. This does not hold AK mags very well. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that. That being just one of the things I was going to touch on about the T-Rex Arms trap panel. If you're someone who knows that they want that versatility with the mag pouches, I think on the trap panel there's just 4 mag pouches up front to optimize 7.62 by 39, and that's probably all you're going to get away with anything, is having 4 7.62 mags up front. You know, with that you're also only holding 4 5.56 mags, as well as giving up some Molly real estate up front, to where if you were going to have 4 5.56 mags and then maybe double stack rifle mag pouches up front to get up to that level of 6 mags, you're going to be taking up even more space up front. And that being said, I probably don't have this completely, or all the space up front completely optimized. So if you were someone who you knew you wanted to run the 6 mags and you were willing to give up something like 2 rows of Molly here, or if you weren't going to run like a assault pouch or a large pouch holding 6 rows of Molly up front, you could run your mags somewhere like that. Before I get too off topic though, go ahead and try and fit some AK mags. You see, like, 1 fits okay, 2, 3, 4, and it gets a little clunky up here. These tabs actually won't close up, so you can just kind of forget about that. And they're definitely going to be a little loose in here because of that. Let me get this all situated. So, and as I tried this before, you're definitely not going to be able to run any sort of like Kydex inserts with the 7.62 mags, or at least those Haley strategic ones got, like, it was taking up way too much space. It made these all very tight and hard to index out. But like I said before, you can actually run, the 4 7.62 mags up front, and you still have pretty good retention, and they're not super hard to get out you're definitely not going to be able to run 6 of these. These side pockets just get way too small. It's just not going to happen. And this versatility is a really great feature of the TAPS panel. And that being one of the things that I wanted to touch on was actually how much you're paying for something like this versus what you're getting. I personally don't know if I would buy the Spiritus Systems TAPS upgrade kit because of how much it is and what you're putting into if you're trying to go for a more budget build. I wouldn't necessarily consider that a budget item unless you absolutely know that you want all the bungee tabs, you want their MOLLE dump pouch, their dangler sack, which is a really cool item, and you don't think that you can get an H harness and a backstrap somewhere else or for any less. I definitely think that that kit is priced well, but I think that if you know what you want and you are working on a budget, I guess, you can definitely get away without doing it. And I'm going to show you all my recommendations on this that I prefer over some of the items in the TAPS kit. And that being said, if you do get the TAPS upgrade kit, those bungee tabs you can size to fit over your 7.62 magazine. So you would have the active retention in that case. Getting a bit caught up. But I just prefer, I hate re-indexing mags with bungee tabs, so I just try to avoid them. So as I'm talking about cost, I want to go into why I really do believe that the TAP is a really strong piece of equipment for how much you're getting for what you're paying. You can buy TAPS panels for anywhere from the low end. I bought this off of eBay for about 25 bucks. I pretty much stole it off of somebody. And these multicam ones can go all the way up to I think $75 and $80. So if you can get one for 25 bucks, like I did, you're killing it. There were no problems, no defects with this one. The really cool thing is that I love about the TAP is that if it's completely naked and bare, which I was thinking about taking off all this for the video, but it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. I wanted to show it completely loaded out. And you just have the bare panel, you're still getting so much value out of that. Let's just pretend like you buy that panel and you're just going to use it as a placard. Maybe you're going to buckle it up into a chest rig. The only thing that you really need to do is get a backstrap and some way to fasten it around a plate carrier. Now you're already capable of holding 4 mags, and I'll kind of try and pretend like this isn't completely loaded out right now to give you a kind of somewhat of an idea for a basic placard style loadout with what a lot of people will run on plate carriers, more like slick stuff or those Kydex pouches. That can be very expensive, sometimes $90 just for 3 Kydex mag pouches up front. Doesn't really get you any other capability besides holding mags. If you just had the TAP panel, you could hold 4 mags up front. You have spots for your tourniquets in the side here. You Velcro them in if you would like. And then you have a spot to hold a radio on each side, which is great. So if you're a lefty, maybe you want to switch it over. Or you can empty this out and you can really fill this with whatever you want. These are larger size pouches. You can throw flashlight, multi-tool, pistol mags. They're going to be a little bit hard to reach, this being so far over on your body. On its own, though, you could even put in a 16-ounce water bottle. And yeah, it even Velcros in if you really want to. But just something like a TAP for hopefully less than $50, what you're spending it on, you can get a lot of capability up front already. You're holding your mags, your medical, and your radio, and you're already ahead of the ballpark on a lot of those things. And on top of that, if you want to start adding, this whole thing is sliding off the table. I can barely get this thing on camera. On top of that, if you want to start adding more things, you have all the MOLLE real estate on front, and you can go source surplus pouches to start slowly scaling up your system for a very low cost. And I think that's the tap panel's strongest suit, is that if you're someone who has a plate carrier and you're looking into getting some sort of a placard to go on it, and you want to build out a chest rig for sustainment, the tap can do both. And you can even build out a tap, like fully loaded out like this, and then have another one to use as just a placard for your plate carrier, which is something I may do in the future just because of how much I enjoy this setup and what the tap's actually capable of. So I'm going to talk about why I set up mine the way that it is, and talk about the bulky weird items, and explain a little bit of how I like streamlining this piece of gear, like all my other pieces of gear. The number one thing that I actually use the tap for, or at least I get my training in with it, is going out and just backpacking. I'll actually use this way more for backpacking and keeping items up front on my person than I do going out to the range, simply because of kind of like what my priorities are at the time. And that's really nice that this chest rig can be a complement to your ruck and that whole system, rather than just being like a drawback and a piece of weight that you're carrying that kind of annoys you because you're just trying to get the training in. And so I was testing like other chest rigs, like a smock for a time, and I was trying to figure out how to hold like certain items. And like a big talk at the time, like a year or two, whenever I got this, was, building out recce builds or reconnaissance type of equipment. And I wanted to figure out how to hold like observation tools, that being a big one. And like I said, something that was going to complement my ruck during the day and the night, and being a piece of gear that is more in line with sustainment equipment. And that's where I think the tap really does shine, for a couple reasons. So I'm just going to start moving over from left to right. I have my canteen pouch that I have set up similar to all my other canteen pouches. I have water purification, electrolyte packs in here. And I've got my water purification tabs there. And in this pouch, because it's kind of up front, closer to the rest of my gear, I have my Linsatic compass, and it is tied off to the vest. This is a pouch I've just been trying out, kind of subject to change, but I do kind of like how easy it is to get to my flashlight and my multi-tool, which is all I hold in here. And this is just some Condor pouch that I've had for like forever. I think it was to hold pistol mags, but it fits these honestly a lot better. So I've got my Streamlight and my Leatherman. This being the main pouch to talk about, and kind of what defines this as like a heavier style chest rig. This is the Spiritus Systems CCP pouch, I believe. It is a pouch that takes up 6 rows of MOLLE, so it's quite large and in charge. And as you can see, it's a very thick boy whenever you start loading it out, and it does bulge away from your body. And I'll kind of show you why mine does. You can hold a variety of items in here, and if you keep it empty, which I'll show, it does flatten out kind of well. But something really cool about this pouch, and I don't know if the USMC Assault pouches do this, but it is large enough to hold a lot of weird items, such as, I guess, a relatively small pair of binoculars. Although these are, I guess they're like medium size, but these are just some Nikon binoculars that I've had for a long time, and they really fit great in here, as well as my rangefinder that I can tie off to the tie-offs that are built into this pouch. And those are being my weird observation tools. I've also just got my bug net sitting up in here, so it's easy for me to grab. I don't have to fish around in any other pockets or in my ruck. And this is a piece of foam that I cut from something that was shipped to the house, that I have stuck in here to protect my optics as they sit in this pouch, in case I were to bump into something or have to go flat on my body. Probably pad me a little bit, as well as my optics. And what I've done before is cut some foam like this and stuff it into a pouch, like a canteen pouch or a GP, whatever it is. And you can use that to pad your nods in your night vision instead of buying one of those padded inserts that are like 50 bucks. It's just a quick way to save some money. Now in the front, I have more general purpose and admin items. So I've got my map pins, field cards for different things that I'm continuously working on. Usually my field cards are going to pertain SOPs or predefined procedures between me and my teammates, or just general cheat sheets for me and my guys to use equipment that we have, such as our radios or GPSs or phones that have preloaded information for us. I've got my headlamp strap that I'll put my Streamlight Sidewinder on. I'll use that as my headlamp. And here's a bonus piece of equipment that I made. These are just like flashlight diffusers for, This is a flashlight diffuser made from bottle caps, and I will use this outdoors, and I've used it hiking around at night or at the campsite, just to diffuse the light coming from a flashlight that's really bright at night. So this just diffuses the light and gets rid of that really harsh beam that is really blinding, especially at night. Green light kind of works as red a little bit, so you can use this for navigation or just seeing around, and then a blue one for blood fluids and what have you. I've also got room for another one. I need to get a Coca-Cola bottle cap for true red light. I'd like to do that soon, but that lives in here. And flipping over real quick to the back, I'm not going to talk too much about these rear pouches. I know some people really love them. I'm not a huge fan of them because you have all this weight and it's smushing against your body, and I wear this pretty tight. I don't like to fish around in these pockets, but I have field cards for hiking that are just kind of for fun. And I have my map for the Grandfather Mountain District, North Carolina, that I'll pull out and I'll use my pins on whenever I need. Normally that would only be if something really terrible like the GPS fails. Okay, getting down into the USMC Dump pouch. Really do like this pouch as compared to other smaller like sack lunchbox style pouches. In here I've got a variety of items that I kind of swap out depending on what I'm doing. So I've got some surplus Gore-Tex gloves, a balaclava, and what I've been trying to do is keep my medical in the same spot, being in whatever dangler I'm wearing. And so with those items, I had my 2 tourniquets before I just took them out, and I have a medical brick that lives in there. And a nice thing being with this pouch is that if you're not using any of those things, or you really don't need it, especially on something like this, we're already holding so much, maybe you can hold these items up here and you'd like to, you can roll this up and just have it for bonus storage if you want to scale up. And it's just going to fold up and live here and really not be in the way of anything. And then another bonus tip is whenever I was backpacking last, getting over here, I have my night vision, and I actually use this dump pouch to hold my skull crusher along with some other items, so that whenever it got dark out, I just pulled the skull crusher out and my nods on, or just nod, not plural, PVS-14. And that way I didn't have to have a bump or a ballistic on or just anything weird. Like the goal was to backpack and to hike, and I was hiking into the campsite at night, and I wanted my night vision so I could use it and practice with it, but like I wasn't going to be bringing my helmet out there. It's just not practical for something like that. This is so much lighter. I know there are better options out there, but you know, I got one with my PVS-14, so wanted to use it. So yep, spoiler alert, night vision is in here. I have my PVS-14 with a Canteen it's like a surplus night vision pouch. with my PVS-14 with the J-arm in there. And in the sides, I actually have a battery pack, a little snack, a little granola snack, a little pick-me-up. And in the other pouch here, I have more signaling stuff. So I have a signaling mirror and a whistle. I can also add windmill chem lights in the back of the chest rig for signaling if I've already like pre-coordinated that with someone, or I feel like I'm going out in the night and I really need one, I might throw one in there. And actually going back over here to the main pouch in the front, I have a red light for looking at anything up front here at night, so I don't have to use a flashlight or my headlamp. Like if I wanted to, I could just click this and it will stay on, and I can look at anything that's right out in front of me at night, or looking around inside of here for something weird that I may have lost. This is a good idea to have, especially if you have other weird smaller items up front that you need to keep track of. On my H harness, talking about the radio setup a little bit, I've got my Code Red push-to-talk fastened here to a MOLLE strap, cable going down, Garmin GPS hooked onto here. I guess a nice thing about these side pockets, and it's come out due to all the tossing and turning I've done with this thing today, but you can take your cable if you're not using the radio, or if you just don't need it plugged up, and you kind of just stuff it in here. Like I usually store it like this, which is just kind of nice, and I won't plug it up until I'm ready to use the radio. But lastly, because our radio pouches being a huge determining factor in my mind whenever I'm buying something, I really like for it to have like some way to integrate a radio into it that's not a huge pain. And the tap is great for that. These pouches are very big, even though whenever they're turned and smushed against your body, it can really give what's over here like a good big squeeze. But your civilian style radios are going to fit very well in these pouches. This isn't like a super small radio by any means. My B-Tech, it fits good. The Kenwood style connector, it being like a Chinese radio with these kind of like crappy 2-pin connectors, it's gonna fit well. It doesn't, I've never had it like back out on me with this push-to-talk and then, you know, sitting in this configuration. I'll usually like take the cable and run it around this, Velcro it, and that way I have a little bit of cable management and have it running up to here, and that way it's not getting in the way of my mags and everything. And I'll usually just keep the cable dangling down here. It doesn't get in the way of anything. So I hope that was helpful. I think I've covered about everything that I want to talk about with the tap. Hopefully gave you some good ideas about how you can buy something like this, start out fresh, and then start building up onto it. If you do want to go crazy like this, you can. But if not, you can still use the tap as just a placard. And that's I think it's a really good way to think about it. And you know, comparing this to the A-taps, like it really kind of depends, you know, how much you think you want to hold up front, and if you really like some of the features that the A-taps has, and you're willing to sacrifice holding like 2 extra 5.56 mags, along with some other things. I know that they made their side pouches a lot bigger, which is probably nice. You can probably like still stuff like tourniquets into each side, but the MOLLE being it having less like MOLLE real estate, as you can see, I don't really even use 3 rows back here. So there's a whole 3 rows that I don't use, and it would get kind of weird to move this, but I guess I could technically shift all this in. I could probably shed this and not use that at all, and this is something that I might switch up in the future, is this pouch, and just push everything in more. And you could probably honestly get away with it. Like, I know there's people who run stuff all the way out on their tap both ways. There's really no right answer. It's just kind of figuring out what are your necessities. For me, it's holding my water and it's holding my night vision. Those are 2 really important things to me for whenever I'm rucking, backpacking. I for this configuration, I don't normally rely on like my Camelback, although I can plus up with that. I like to hold my canteen. This can also turn into a GP pouch if I take the canteen out of it, which works great. But holding my night vision up here is a must, and I need room for that. Also, if I don't need my night vision, this can turn into a GP pouch. It can just hold more stuff. This also being something you might not need. You could probably shed this. I mean, probably one of the biggest reasons I use this pouch particularly is to have the option to hold an observation device, such as my binoculars. You could hold your night vision up here though. You can move that, make this thing padded, and only hold that one thing and start shrinking this in. And that might be a goal of mine, is actually to, I've really built this thing out. Maybe shrinking it in a little bit is a good idea for me at this point. But I just really wanted to cover that, especially with that new chest rig coming out. Show a little bit of how someone from the civilian side has kind of built this tap panel out. I know there's a ton of videos on there. Hopefully this is just inspiration for you know, ideas for the future, and show some cool capabilities of this pouch if you're someone who needs to hold something like binoculars and some other gear like that. With that pad, it doesn't get too small, but I've also still got stuff in there. Yeah, it's a little bit of a bulky pouch, but comment what you saw you liked. Let me know if there's anything else on here that I didn't cover that you'd like to see in the future. Give this a fat thumbs up, and hope you learned something and enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.